Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are talking about this lovely book right here, The Mastectomy I Always Wanted, a Breast Cancer Memoir by Erica Neubert Campbell. And let me tell you guys a little bit about Erica because she's awesome, so you guys need to know about her. Erica is an award-winning writer and longtime cancer advocate who speaks the vocabulary of cancer from multiple perspectives. Erica is a breast cancer survivor who lost her mom to the same disease. In her debut memoir, this book right here, Erica combines authenticity and vulnerability with practical advice for the mastectomy journey. Erica, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to talk to you about this amazing book so much. Oh my gosh. So thank you for being here.
I love that you both are holding up copies, and I can see that Jennifer has it tabbed. Both of you have it tabbed, which explodes my heart.
And we have like stuff, all kinds of things underlined and notes written. Oh yeah.
Okay. I love you both already. And I want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yeah. I want to say, we both want to say thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Because what you've basically written here is kind of a guidebook for someone facing the same journey that you had to face. And women need this. We need this book. So
yeah. And people supporting people who are going through this journey also need this. This is a very, this is an amazing, it's a short book, but it is concise and there's a lot of good information in here.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up about the book, but since you said it right away, Raquel, is what I love about this is it's so accessible.
Absolutely. It's very, very practical, while also, Erica, I know we're jumping into you saying, hey,
yeah,
we're just so excited about the book, but it's practical and it's vulnerable. You feel like you're with you on this journey, the way that you've written it. So thank you.
So all that being said, how did you decide, how did you get here? How did you decide to write it?
Wow. Well, first, I just want to say thank you. That was the most incredible opening I've ever heard. And I just want to say thank you for also recognizing that I intended it to be a short book that was accessible. And for you both to recognize that is incredible, because it has been called sort of like what to expect when you're expecting a mastectomy, right? It's practical. And if you know someone in your life, you must have this. And I say this with all the love and respect, because newly diagnosed women with breast cancer have found this book invaluable. So, and also people in that situation don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time. You got a fire hose of information coming at you. And so I intentionally made it accessible and short. So I just want to say thank you for recognizing that. And how did I get here? Oh my goodness. Well, there's a story in the opening part of the book where I was in a tremendous state of fear. My mother had died of breast cancer, and then I get the call 15 years later that I have breast cancer. And you can imagine all that's going through my head. And I was working full time, and a woman came up to me after I announced this at the team meeting, right? I'm going to be out for a couple of weeks. I have breast cancer. I'm crying. And after the meeting, she pulls me aside and she's like, hey, I've had the same surgery as you 5 years ago. And by the way, I don't know this woman. She's just joined the team. She's new at work. And she says, do you want to see what it looks like today? And I was like, okay. I'm a professional. You're a professional. I don't really know you, but yes, I do. Yes, I do. And so, I throw out all my, sort of worries and fears. We go off and find ourselves like a bathroom off the beaten path in the office, that one that nobody ever goes to. Lock the door. She takes off her shirt and she shows me.
Wow.
To be honest, her breasts look so real and so natural. And I was like, are you for reals? Are you sure? And
are you sure those are fake? Did that really do anything?
Those are fake. I was like, everything. She had nipple tattoos. She had faint scars, but she looked beautiful. absolutely beautiful. And I had
Wow.
no idea. I had no idea. She was hiding in plain sight. And it felt like, so much fear dissipated. I was like, okay, this is going to be hard. This is going to be, a struggle, and I'm going to be okay. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whew. I mean, let's be honest, it didn't take away all of my fears, but it
Sure.
took them down a significant 50%. And I also thought, how rare is this?
Mm-hmm.
How rare is this? And so I actually went to my surgeon before the actual surgery, and I said, okay, so you tell me to trust you and you tell me it's going to be okay, but do you have any pictures? He's like, no, no.
Mm.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well, like, so he's also a man and I have to, he doesn't have breasts, so I have to trust him. But I thought that's kind of strange.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't start out deciding to write the book, but I decided that if ever another woman needed me the way this other woman had helped me, I would
Mm-hmm.
be there for them. So I did
That's
take
awesome.
pictures before, during, and after. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm just going to hold on to it because I want to pay it forward. I
Right.
want to be this resource for somebody else. And so, sure enough, 2 years later, I mean, I didn't start off wanting to write the book, but 2 years later, after I had been on the other side, I started getting these phone calls, right? Hey, my sister's been diagnosed, or hey, my neighbor's been diagnosed. Can you talk to them? Can you call them? And I found myself not only sharing these like really like intimate stories, but also these photos. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, I'm helping like one person at a time. What can I do? Oh, maybe I'll write a book and then I'll share it with, hopefully hundreds of thousands of other women because I don't want to keep this just to myself. I want to be
Right.
that resource for other women. So that's how
Right.
it all started.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it is the best story ever of women supporting women,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is what we need right
Yeah.
now, more than
Yeah.
Absolutely.
ever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
wanted to normalize the conversation because
yes.
it was like,
Yes.
this behind closed doors. We were hiding in a bathroom and we were whispering and nobody else knew. And again, I wanted to normalize it to
Mm-hmm.
like get out so that we can all talk about it. Women can support women. Thank you for
Right.
saying that.
Right.
Yeah.
I was because I have a friend who's very recently diagnosed, with breast
I'm
cancer.
sorry, Raquel. That's hard.
Thank you. Thank you. And honestly, she is surrounded by so many amazing people. She's got first of all, her team of doctors, just hearing her talk about it, amazing. Amazing. Her husband, amazing. Circle of friends, everybody's like circling the wagons, right? And when I started reading the book, of course, she immediately came to mind for me, immediately came to mind. Because literally, between the time that we started talking to you and booked this episode and then reading the book, that it's within that time that she's been diagnosed. So this is all very, very new. And I was reading the book and I was like, yeah, I should get this for Leanne. I should get this for Leanne. But then I was like, oh, is that overstepping? Is she not ready? Is this a bad time? I don't know. But then honestly, by the end of the book, I was like, I'm getting this book for her. She can choose to read it now. She can choose to wait. She may wait until, years from now. It doesn't matter. But I honestly feel like this would be incredibly helpful for her. I just want to say personally, thank you for writing this book because
Yeah.
I truly feel like this book is going to be helpful to Leanne. And it's been helpful to me as somebody who loves someone who's going through this. It demystified so much for me. So
Yeah.
sorry, that wasn't really a question, but I just,
No,
I just
I
wanted
think,
to
but I
put that
think
out there.
you're absolutely right. I actually think the book is incredibly helpful for caregivers and loved ones that love
It
them.
is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that part where you and your husband are writing a letter to all of your fans. I
Mhm.
call them fans, but all of your loved ones
Yeah.
who are supporting you. And you're very clear about, if I don't respond to you, it's not because I love you. I'm going through this. And I
Mhm.
love the way you outline the steps for people to understand, because I
Mhm.
think everybody has a friend. I don't know anybody who doesn't have a friend who's gone through
Mhm.
something like this.
Exactly.
And what do you do? What do you do? You don't
Yeah.
know. So you outlined it for us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was, that was I'll credit one of my fans or slash friends who said, let me do this for you. And she actually crafted that email. And she's like, let me write an
She's
FAQ.
amazing.
Oh, she is amazing. She was like, that's the best thing I can do for you. And I will say that I have had now women literally just cut and paste and put in their own details.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
don't recreate the wheel because everybody has questions. Everybody wants to help. They don't know what to do. And this was a way to like, literally, like you said, Raquel, it's practical tips that I
Mhm.
want caregivers and people that love them to use and to know that again, it's, there's so much going on that you don't know.
Right.
And I just tried to normalize all of it.
Right.
And I love the specificity about it because I remember in one point you said, don't send me flowers.
Yeah.
Right. And
Mhm.
sometimes when my mom was dying, I wanted flowers. I was like, people send flowers for my mother. I don't know why. I've just felt like my mom should have flowers.
Yeah.
And it's like letting people know exactly what your heart desires.
Mhm.
Such a strong thing, such a
Mhm.
beautiful thing, because people want to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like when you talked about uh and I hope I tabbed the right page. I probably did not. But you were talking about that people will say things that are not particularly helpful. And I mean not trying to say the wrong thing, but they just do.
Yeah.
And I loved when there was a part when you talk about where people will go, "Oh, did you get a second opinion?" And you go, "Yeah, what about my
Oh, I
opinion?"
love that.
That. Yeah,
My
yeah.
opinion.
I literally like double underlined that. I was like, "Yeah, your opinion counts."
Right? Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people are well-meaning, but there were sometimes I was like, did you really just say that to me?
Yeah.
Did you really? And so I hope the book helps with that specificity, what to say, what not to say. And it's also okay to make a mistake, right? I also thought
Mhm.
the people that avoided me entirely, that was also hurtful too. So it was like I had more grace, but again, the inner chatter, whew,
Yeah.
for a newly diagnosed woman, loud. It's pretty loud.
I'm sure.
Mm.
One of the interesting things I thought about in your book was when you were in the hospital and your own daughter came to visit, and you were also having memories of your mother and her struggles with breast cancer. How, I mean, just tell our audience a little bit about that because I think that's so compelling.
Yeah, that one is really, really hard. So as you mentioned, my mother died of breast cancer.
I'm
I
sorry
don't know that
about that.
yeah, thank you. Um, what I don't mention in the book, not intentionally, I just maybe didn't mention this, but my mother-in-law had also been in a breast cancer battle
Oh,
around the same
wow.
time as me.
Oh my
So when
gosh.
you think about my daughter, who is
Mhm.
now 14, she has two grandmothers that have had breast cancer and one mother who has had breast cancer. So she has said to me, Mom, am I going to get breast cancer? And,
Of
to be honest,
course.
I don't know what to say to her.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And I have to say, honey, possibly. There's a lot of great research out there and there's a lot of great efforts to cure but I don't know the answer to that. And that's been the hardest conversation to have with her. I was really grateful that she got to see me in the hospital.
Mhm.
It's okay to show weakness. I think that's important as a mom and as a woman, but also then to show strength, right? She sees me
Mm.
now. She's super proud of the book, even though she's like, ugh,
Oh,
Mom, she's a
good.
teenager, right? She's like,
Yeah.
Mom, I can't believe you like wrote this thing, right? But some of her mom friends, her friends' moms have read it and have been affected and they've benefited. And so she's really proud of that. But I do feel like I have to be honest with her
Yeah.
about the statistics. 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer in their lifetime. So that's why I'm not surprised that both of you know someone who's been in that journey.
Mhm.
And I think it's just, again, we have to support each other and we have to just talk about these things because otherwise, I want to make sure people get mammograms, right? I had
Mhm.
early detection. Thank
Mhm.
goodness. If I hadn't, this could be a very different conversation. I like to talk about it, encourage people to get tested to have the hard conversations, whether with your daughter, with your mom, with your sister, with your neighbor, with your cousin, whomever, but talk about it.
Yeah.
Could you talk about your decision to have a mastectomy?
Yeah. Yes. This
Well,
one,
and you had a double mastectomy, right?
yeah, double. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is probably the most interesting and complex conversation I have with women, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of, again, I still to this day get friends of friends call me and say, I've been newly diagnosed and my physician has given me options. I can have a lumpectomy, which is where they just take out a little lump, like around the tumor kind of thing, or they have the single or double mastectomy. I would say there are times when you don't get that choice if you've been diagnosed at a later time, but a lot of times now there's a lot more early detection, so there's a lot of choice. The lumpectomy, which is minimally invasive, you're sort of, you're in and out, or the double mastectomy, which is, removing large body parts and replacing them if you choose. And for me, it was I'll put this in quotes, easy choice. And the only
Mhm.
reason I will say that is because I had seen what happened with my mother.
Mm.
Right.
My mother had the exact same decision point 15 years ago. Should she get a lumpectomy? Should she get a double mastectomy? And at the time, this was, again, many years ago, she chose the lumpectomy. She didn't want to lose her breasts. She thought about her own femininity. She thought, this is, the easier path. She had a lot of fear about surgery. And then, as it came back. It came back with a vengeance and ultimately took her life. And towards the end of her life, there was a physician that looked at her chart, real thick by that point, and he said, interesting. If you'd had a mastectomy in the beginning, you might be not really where you are today.
Gee, buddy, that's helpful now, asshole.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Completely right. I'll be honest, it was like a young new doctor, and he was like the backup of the backup at like 3 a.m. when we were there. So I was like, okay, dude. But it's burned, it stung, and it took me a long time to get over that. So obviously for me, I was like, well, I get to rewrite my mom's story. I get to like give justice to her death, and I'm going to go for the harder option. It is the harder option, and I will not discount that. It is the harder option. But then it's over, right? It's hard,
Yeah.
and there's a recovery, and then it's over. And this is what I
Right.
talk about with women who are making, I never push them to one decision or the other. That's not my place. I'm not a physician. But what I talk about is afterwards.
Mhm.
Okay, so afterwards, after you have a lumpectomy, yes, you have that little piece taken out, but you will then be worried the rest of your life that it will come back because you will be under high scrutiny. You might
Yep.
have radiation, which, by the way, isn't actually easy. Everyone's like, oh, radiation. No, it is not easy. But the mental game
Mhm.
is so challenging.
Yeah.
Again, you have to get mammograms the rest of your life. And I call that scanxiety, right? The
Yep.
anxiety before, during, and after, where you're waiting for those results. It will haunt you the rest of your
Terrible.
life. Yeah, it's terrible. It's
Right.
terrible. But now I can't get breast cancer. I don't have real breasts. I don't have them. So like,
Yeah.
no, I am not even under a physician anymore. Like they released me
Wow.
into the world. They were like, you're good. I mean, I was
Wow.
under like high scrutiny for, a couple of years, but they were like, you're good. And so I don't think about it. I
Right.
don't
Wow.
think about it.
Well,
But I have friends that have chosen a lumpectomy and they regret it
mhm. Mhm.
because they are still in that journey. They'll be in that journey the rest of their life
Yeah. Yeah.
of like fear, the anxiety, the checkups every 3 months. I don't have any of that. And so once I speak to a woman about that, then
Mhm.
they like, oh, I see what you're
Right.
saying.
Right.
And I will say there have been some cases, and again, I'm not a physician. I always like to say this. I just had a good friend who was on the decision point between a lumpectomy and a mastectomy. She chose the mastectomy. Thank goodness. She did a double. They took out both of her breast tissues. They tested afterwards. They do a pathology on it.
Mhm.
So they obviously got out. It was on her like left side. They then found traces of cancer in her right side that they hadn't found on an MRI.
Oh my
Wow.
God. Oh my
So
God.
if she hadn't done it, she
Yeah.
would 100% would have had a relapse.
Yeah.
100% on the other side. And so she was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And I was like, "I didn't, you chose it. I didn't, I just gave you the
Mhm.
information." And so that to me, speaks volumes about the choice. And
Mhm.
there'll be people that are like, lumpectomy is fine. They've made great progress. And yes, yes. But it's the mental game and the fear that I want to caution women about, the long game. I always say, like,
Right.
in the short term, yes, a lumpectomy is easier. I need you to think about the long game. Like, what are you going to feel 5, 10 years from now? Because
Mhm.
that's why you're doing this. You are doing any of these treatments to save your own life. That's why you're
Yeah.
doing it. And
Right.
your life, you want it to be long.
So you bring up two things that first off, I'm really glad that you brought them up because I was going to ask you about them anyway, but about the mental aspect of, you know, diagnosis, treatment, recovery, years after, oh my God, is this going to come back? Oh my God, how is this affecting other people? So the mental aspect, and then also advocating for yourself. You stood up for yourself. And so if you can just talk about those two things, because I think those two things are so incredibly important. And I don't know that we really spend enough time talking about either of those.
100%. The mental game is, everybody focuses on the health, right? There's like,
Mm-hmm.
get the cancer out, get the cancer cured, get it out. And
Mm-hmm.
I just worry that we forget about the mental game. That we
Yeah.
forget about what's going on between, your 2 ears. And, I also disclose in the book that afterwards, I did seek some mental health therapy
Mm-hmm.
because, again, you are just in survival mode at the beginning, like your world gets turned upside down and you're like admin things and doctor's appointments and I have a surgery and I have to take this medicine and this and that. And then once it all goes quiet, that's when your mental game comes into play. And
Mm-hmm.
it was actually at the recommendation of my surgeon. You know, well after I was healed, he said, I wonder if you want to consider some mental health therapy. I was like, no, I'm
You're
fine.
like, I'm
I'm
great. I don't
good. I'm
need
all
anything.
healed.
Yep.
I'm good. I'm good. I got this. And he really sat me down. He was like, no, seriously, listen. And I mean, super nice guy. And I will give him all the credit because he said it to me 3 times. It takes like 3 times for me to hear something. And finally I was like, okay. And I booked the appointment. I was like, oh, this is the worst. What are we even going to talk about? I don't even know. I'd never had mental health therapy before. And I went in and I never looked back. It was so good. It was so good. It was so good. I had a very gentle soul and it wasn't forever. That's what I also tell women. You don't need to be in therapy forever. I
Yep.
did it, like I can't remember now, 8 to 12 weeks.
Mhm.
And I loved it, and I found a lot of benefit from it. I found a lot of benefit from it. And, that's the part about advocacy too, is like when you're mentally strong, then you can advocate for yourself a bit more. And
Yep.
I did have to advocate for myself all these years. Like there is nobody that knows your body better than you. There is
Absolutely.
nobody that knows your body better than you. And I hear this from women, from moms, like you just know. You just know. And I had a feeling that I was always going to get breast cancer, frankly. I was,
Mhm.
maybe I brought it on myself, but I advocated for those mammograms. I advocated to make sure that I had, the highest like 3D mammograms they have now. My doctor, before I was diagnosed, kept saying, you are fine. You are just like any other woman. Even though your mom, died of breast cancer, you have just as much risk as any other human. And I was like, I don't know about that. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
know
but we're
about
all
that.
at risk.
So I did
Yeah.
yeah,
We're all
Mhm.
at
all of
risk.
us.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Of
All
the
at
nature
risk.
that we have breast tissue, we're at risk.
Mhm. Yeah.
Men get breast
Yes.
cancer.
Yep.
Yeah. 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 And I just
Yes.
want to bring up really quick, Erica, the poem that you wrote on page 43. And it's funny, I heard another podcast that you were on, and you're like, some of this came out as poetry. I don't know where that came from.
That was
But
the most surprising part of the book.
yeah,
I'm
I was
reading
like, these
along
are
and I'm like,
awesome.
poetry.
and I thought that was great. But your poem on page 43 called Why Not Me? And that
Mhm.
that made so much sense to me. So much sense. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of cancer in my family history as well. In fact, my mom had cancer when I was a kid. My mom had uterine cancer.
Mm.
She ended up having a hysterectomy. I mean, she's fine. You know, she's 86 now, so she's been around for a very long time. I mean, this was 70 years ago now, so or more than that. Uh, but this poem hit me hard because I was like, yeah, yeah. I mean, none of us necessarily are immune from any of this.
No.
Yeah. 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 I mean, thank you for saying the poetry. It's so funny about the poetry is that when I told you that I decided to write the book about 2 years after my surgery, and I was like, well, where do I start? And I was like, let me go back to my journal, which again,
Mhm.
somebody had said to me, you should keep a journal. And I remember being like, are you for reals? I am dealing with breast cancer and all this stuff, and you think I'm going to be better just by journaling? They were right. They were right. And
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't, I, I would write at bedtime. And
Mhm.
actually, it's really funny. I didn't own a journal, right? So I like stole one from my daughter. She was 8 at the time. It was like teal turquoise with glitter on it. And I was like, well, it's all we got in the house. And I mean, and I just wrote whatever came to mind, whatever was on my mind. And then I put it away. So 2 years later, I opened up this, this teal sparkly journal and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, I was so in fear and anxiety. I didn't even write in full sentences. And
Mhm.
sometimes I would write through the page with so much anger, or sometimes you could see the tears on the page. But that's where I started. So all I did was type these up. I just typed up what was in the journal.
Wow.
And when I wrote them, I was like, they're not even real sentences, but they're kind of like poetry. I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
a
it's
poet. I am not a
definitely
poet.
poetry.
Yeah, I am not a poet. But then I got real nervous. I was like, I'm not a poet. And this is just kind of randomly put in the middle of the book. But I was like, you know what? Let me try. But that's the part I almost cut out, you
It's
guys.
perfect.
Oh, no,
It's
it's so
actually
good.
perfect.
It
Yeah.
is.
That's
And
when
then
I
Because it's
got
like your emotions like distilled
that's when I
in right
got
there.
really, I mean, I was interested, but that's when I got really interested.
I know I have to go back because again, I cut a few poems from it, from like the draft. You go through this revision. I want to go back and review the ones I cut because I was like, no one's going to like this part, but let me try it. And it's people's favorite. So
So
Yeah.
I'm
good.
like, I might have to go back and like, deleted scenes, deleted poems.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
There's so many spots in here that are just so interesting. Like on page 83, you're talking about getting kicked while you were down. And you
Ugh,
said, I felt like I was being attacked just for being a woman. And I can't tell you how many times I felt that. It's like,
yes.
this is spot on.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, it just felt like this like ironic cruelty of the time I'm getting like a major feminine part of me being removed, I also get my period.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
God, you poor thing.
That's like
I was
typical.
like, it's so
Yeah.
typical. So
Yep.
Yeah.
typical. It was like humiliating and obviously uncomfortable and just like I felt like I was bleeding everywhere and
Yep.
just like it was just like for reals? For
Yeah.
real? My body just felt like it was angry at me.
Mhm.
And then on page 116, you're talking about after the surgery, thinking about it, and you say, I have no conscious awareness of how my body was handled.
Yeah.
And I think of that, and it's like, yes, this is true. Anytime we are going into a surgery, we have no idea.
No
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
No idea. Yeah. I do remember, you get wheeled in there, right? And you're just wearing
Mhm.
this like paper robe and it's this huge room and there's just like one little table in the middle, but there's
Mhm.
like, I'm not joking you, 15 people standing around waiting for me. And I was like,
Yep.
Mhm.
what are y'all here for? Like, I thought this was
Why
just
are
one
you guys
guy who's,
here?
hey, why are you guys
Yep.
here? And then they just start working and I'm like, huh, and then you're out. So like,
Yep.
I mean, they know that you're going to have that anxiety. So they put you out like within about 5 seconds. But I was like, what are you all out? But like that 5 seconds is
Mhm.
very anxiety inducing. And I woke up being like, well, what happened? Like, did you all play Taylor Swift? Did you have a dance party? Like, did you take selfies with me? Like, I found that very disconcerting. I
Yeah.
found it very
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. I had a hysterectomy and I remember kind of thinking something the same. Like,
Mm,
because
Yeah.
the anesthesia is completely lacking from your memory. It's not
yeah.
like a dream where you kind of remember.
Yeah.
It's
No.
just gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
gone.
gone.
And I love, just speaking of that, of you're coming out of it and you're like, what's going on? One thing that I thought was just so cool, because I mean, you're literally stripped down to just your essence at that point, right? But on page 68, you talk about being in the post anesthesia care unit, and the nurses were telling you that you did a great job, blah blah blah, and with your eyes closed you mumbled, because I'm a badass. And I love that. I literally put a little heart there. I put a little heart there. It was like, that's awesome, you are a badass.
I mean, I literally have no memory of that. But
Mhm.
afterwards, my husband and the nurse told me the story, and I was like, I said, what? And I was like, where did that come from? Because it's not something I had been talking about or like reading, but you know what? I was doing like affirmations, right?
Mhm.
Beforehand, like,
Mhm.
okay, I got this. I'm a badass. Like, I can do this. I got this. Like, I had to, in the days leading up are the worst,
Oh, yeah.
absolute worst, because you just know what's coming, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know, and you also don't know what's coming. And so that was the hardest. I always tell women like the 3 days before are the absolute
Mm,
worst.
mm.
And so I had been like mentally pumping myself up. Yeah.
Well, it worked.
But I hadn't told anybody, right? And that's what I think is so funny about the conscious and unconscious mind, is that
Totally.
I've been like being like, okay, Erica, you got this, you're badass, but like never said it out loud until I was half out of it.
Yeah, yeah, I loved that part. I as I was reading it and I put that little heart, I was like, I have to tell Erica that I love this part.
One thing I was curious about, I was reading this book yesterday with my niece and her wife and my daughter all in the room. And every once in a while I'd read something out loud. And I said, and we got to the part where you were going through reconstruction. And I paused for a moment. We're all a little heavily endowed in our family. So I said to my niece, I'm like, if you had the option, if they were removed, would you have them reconstructed? And all of us, all four of us in the room were like, absolutely not, because we're not completely comfortable with our breasts, to be honest.
Yeah.
All of us felt that way. And I was like, I wonder why. Because it seemed like from the book, you knew from the very beginning you were going to do reconstruction. How did that
Yeah.
play out for you?
Yeah, that's so interesting. Again, I sort of had this like foggy memory of my mom, and she didn't have the lump. She had the lumpectomy first, but when it came back with a vengeance, and she was required to get she got a single mastectomy. So just on one side, and she
Mhm.
remained flat. And so she had one regular boob and then one completely flat, where she would stuff like, and I'm not joking you, like a sock in there, her
Mhm.
bra, or like
Yeah.
cotton balls. We would joke like, just put a stale bread roll in there, like, and that always affected her. It always
Mhm.
affected her. I remember going bathing suit shopping with her, and we had to go to a special store that sold, sort of like like a plastic boob that you could
Oh,
put in a
yeah.
special bathing suit. And just seeing the struggle that she had, I remember the tears she had in the dressing room trying on these bathing suits. And I was like, "Ugh." And so when the option for reconstruction came up, I was like, I think I want that,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I actually was the opposite. I'm not particularly like big boobed. I always wanted bigger boobs, as a teenager or whatever. And so I just wanted that option. And I will say, when you do reconstruction, there's more advances now, but you start off kind of flat. Like I started
Mm.
off, and I remember being like, that's actually fine. Like nobody noticed, right?
Mm.
Like unless you're wearing a really tight top, no one's going to notice. And it also, like, your back feels better, you feel lighter. And so I get it. That question you asked your niece and your daughter and her wife, like that's a valid
Yeah.
answer. to stay flat.
Well, at the end, we had quite a lengthy discussion about it because it's like it's a big deal, right? And at the end, my niece said, "Yeah, we all say this, but none of us is actually facing it. You don't really know until it happens." And then my niece's wife said, "I also think it plays into femininity, and
Yeah.
she doesn't feel particularly feminine, and neither do I." So we were debating whether it is an extension of your femininity.
Mm.
That is, I love that question. And again, isn't it so funny? That's where I got to as well, is that like, they're just pieces of fatty.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know, I mean,
But
at
yet
the
they're
core of it,
also our womanhood.
right. And
Yeah.
why? Why? I was,
Yeah.
why?
Well, biologically speaking, at the very essence of it, if we are to have a child, that is how we feed our children.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So
But it is fascinating. It's really fascinating.
It's such an interesting topic. I mean, we could talk all day on just that topic itself.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
when I was reading this, it never occurred to me that if I was going through this, that I would not have the
Oh,
reconstruction.
interesting.
I absolutely would have the
Interesting.
reconstruction. At least this is what I'm saying now. But yeah, I absolutely would do it. I mean,
Not me,
I
man.
am a well-endowed woman as well. And they've gotten bigger with some weight gain. But I think that I would get them reconstructed. And this is probably a very childish question, but I think maybe I'm not the only one who's had this question. So hopefully it's okay that I ask. But so when I was reading this, and Erica, you talked about how growing up, you were kind of flat-chested and you were the last one to develop. And so I was wondering if when you had the reconstruction, did you go back to your pre-cancer size, or did you go, you know what, this is a chance for me to get a little bit bigger?
You want the tea.
I kind of do a little bit.
Well, absolutely. It's so funny. I had the choice.
Yeah.
I had the choice. I mean, you get to choose how big you go, right? And I had this long conversation with the doctor and with my husband, actually. And he said, the doctor said, you can go bigger, go home. And I was like, I don't know about that. And we ended up on like the exact same size,
Okay.
which, but it did cross my mind. Oh, this is my chance. This is my one chance, right? Like
that is the one saving grace of the whole thing is you get a choice.
Yeah, you can have what you wanted when you were 13. Like, oh, I can be bigger.
Exactly. Yeah. And
you don't have to wear bras anymore.
I don't wear.
Oh, that right there.
Yeah. When you said that you burned or you got rid of all your bras, I was like, lucky.
Oh, I know. I mean,
which I know that's a weird situation to say lucky in. I know. I realize
no, it's all good.
But
it is the silver lining. Because I remember, again, the guy being like, the doctor saying, you're not going to need a bra afterwards. I was like, what? You're going to make me the exact same size, but I don't have to. So yeah, I can wear backless stuff. I mean, I don't that often, to be totally honest, but like I could if I wanted to. It is incredible. Modern technology and medicine is actually really incredible. I can wear the same dresses. I can wear like the same bathing suits. It's really, they did a really good job. Right. But, but I also know women that chose to go flat, and I really respect that too. I really respect that too. Yeah. Wow. But I think the power of choice, right? The only thing you want is the power of choice. Otherwise, like you kind of feel like powerless, and that the power of choice is incredibly empowering.
Okay, so now that since I asked the silly question, I'm going to go ahead and ask a not so serious question. I need to redeem myself, people. So you talk a lot in the book about your mom and her experience. One question that stood out to me was, did your experience with breast cancer change the way that you think about your mom's experience, or maybe did it affect your memories of the situation that your mom was going through at the time?
It's a great question. I do think it changed them slightly. I
Okay.
do think it changed them slightly because I remember, eventually when she did have her single mastectomy, after she had relapsed twice, she was terrified.
Mhm.
She was terrified. And I remember I was with her the whole time in the surgery, the pre-op and all that stuff, and being like, "Ugh, mom, like, get over it. Like, it's just a surgery." And she was just like shaking with fear. And I was that sort of like snotty, kid who was like, "Mom, like, you'll be fine." And I regret that a little bit. I mean, I wasn't super judgmental, but I do remember being like, "Mom, it's time to like let go of some of this fear." And then I ended up having the same fear, right? I
Mm.
ended up having the same thing. And so it softened my memories of that a little
Mm.
bit. It softened those, sort of judgments perhaps, but it also, it enlightened me like there are hard choices. I sound like the choice was easy, even though, yes, I was pretty sure I was going to get that double mastectomy. It does like cross your mind. Like, well, do I want to? And, it gave me more peace with how difficult her choices were, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was really easy to look in the rear view mirror for her, right? And say, oh, mom, if you'd taken the hard path, you'd be, essentially you'd be with us today. And I don't do that anymore. I respect that she made the decision that was the best for her at the time. And I have to go with that. So it softened a lot for me, actually.
Yeah.
Mm.
And they know a lot more now than they knew
Yes.
then.
Mhm.
It really isn't even the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So I
when you
got
think
to
about it,
release a lot.
yeah, 15 years wasn't really, I mean, that's not a whole lot of time when you think about it, but the the changes and the advances that have been made and just the way that I think we as a society react to cancer and people with cancer and realizing that, and especially women with cancer, that women have choices. Women are full human beings who have choices and should be able to, like you say in the book and with, on your website and all of that, advocate for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there wasn't as much of that, I don't think, 15 years ago or 15 years prior to your experience.
Yeah, and I think that's true. And what I also think about my mom is at the time, and granted, this is kind of before cell phones. Sounds
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
embarrassing, but right, we didn't know anybody else who had a similar diagnosis. There was nobody that she could talk to. And again, that's sort of why I like wanted to be this advocate for other women and to be a resource, is because I don't want anyone to feel alone. She felt
Yeah.
really alone.
Mm-hmm.
There was no
Mm-hmm.
internet back then, and
We did the same thing.
hey, my mom was so alone. She had no one that was in her circle. Like, I don't, and maybe it was again without the internet, without Facebook and Instagram, and all those things, but like, we didn't know anybody who had had cancer.
Right.
I was in my 20s at the time. I would say almost all of my friends looked at me like I was a pariah. I'll be honest. I felt like they were like, oh, she's the woman whose mom has cancer.
Oh
Her
my
mom
Yeah.
is dying.
gosh.
And I felt alone in that
Mm-hmm.
journey then. And so
Yeah.
today, obviously, again, women, Raquel, women, Jennifer, we all do. We all know people with other cancers. Both of your moms had cancers. Like it's more prevalent now too, I think,
Mm-hmm.
sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's environmental or food we eat, that's another conversation. I just think, again, I wanted to redeem the feelings that she had
Yeah.
Yeah.
and change it for the future. You are not alone. You are not alone.
You are not alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there anything that you wanted to get across to our audience that we didn't give you the chance to?
Ooh, I always want to say you are not alone, and then trust the process. That's the other one. I just having to trust a doctor, find
Mm-hmm.
one that you trust. And I know it's hard because sometimes you meet these people for 15 minutes and you're like, okay, I'm going to turn over my life to you. Great. But trust yourself in that journey. And if you
Mm-hmm.
ever feel something is off, make a change and don't feel bad about it and just
Yeah.
do what's right for you. I always want to say, trust yourself and trust the process.
Awesome. Erica,
Yeah. And call me.
yeah.
Like I respond to everybody. Like call me, message me. That's my favorite thing, is to talk to women and answer and just listen.
Mhm.
So literally, yeah.
And we will
That's so
put all of
amazing.
your contact information in our show notes. And in addition to this amazing book, I just want to give a shout out to you, Erica, that your website has so much amazing information and so many just outstanding resources for people, including the journal template that you use that I just, because you talk about journaling, and people on a good day have resistance to journaling. So there's a template on the website, people. So if you're like, okay, yeah, the journaling would help, but what do I do? Erica's made it easy for you. So
Oh yeah. I do that. I literally have done that journaling template every day for the last probably 4 years.
wow.
But prior to that, I just like free formed it. It takes less than 5 minutes. I always say to people, you can do it 5 minutes. And if it's cumulative and it adds up, and it will make you feel better. And that's whether you're in a cancer journey or not.
Mhm,
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Wow,
No,
thank you.
I wanted the website to be a resource. Like, that's really my vision. Honestly, my vision is to support more women. Full
Yeah.
stop.
Love it.
That's
Yeah.
the vision we need across the country and across
Mhm.
the world.
Amen.
Absolutely. Erica,
Amen.
thank you so much for being so candid and vulnerable and sharing all this. I think your book is going to do even more good than I think you realize. So thank you
Hope
for
so.
writing this.
Okay, I love you too. And again, my vision, I just really genuinely want to help. I just want to help. And the fact that you say that means the world. And my favorite thing is to hear from people I don't know, right? I love hearing from strangers, because that means it's working. And so please reach out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh,
Such
do you want to recap?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate for people that this book is chock full of information that is helpful. Yes, and you are not alone. It is chock full of very useful information, and Erica tells her story, and when I say demystifies the journey, I'm not kidding. I mean, she's very candid, and but she's doing it, like she said, because she wants to help people. And yes, this is incredibly helpful for people who are going through this specific journey of getting that diagnosis, but it's also incredibly helpful to those who love someone who's going through this.
Yeah.
And if it's another kind of cancer diagnosis or whatever illness that somebody's going through, there's so much in here that we all can benefit from. And I mean, this is an amazing work that Erica has put into the world, that this is going to be a resource for people. This is going to be something that other people can have in their toolbox. And I think that's incredibly, it's very selfless.
Yeah.
I love the book. Yeah. And now meeting Erica and putting Erica as a full human being together with the book that is so beautifully written. Yeah.
I love the structure of the book
Mhm.
because it kind of opens up with history and diagnosis, etc. And then it goes into that letter where she tells her friends, these are the things I
Mhm.
may not be able to respond. Please don't send me flowers.
Mhm.
If you want to be part of the meal train,
Yeah.
contact this person, all these things that are like the logistical important things when you're going through something like this.
Yeah.
Then she goes into the poetry. Wow, was that a surprise?
Right. Yeah, I did not expect that at all, but it was so great.
And then the history, the pictures, she
Mhm.
shows the pictures of herself in the book going through all of the stages,
The pictures are
pre
fantastic.
pre-surgery, right after surgery, post-surgery some days when the extenders are working, and then when she goes into reconstruction surgery, and then the tattooing process, and then all of that. For someone who's about to face this is a way to look at it and say, oh, wow, I'm going to be okay.
Mhm.
And then the book, the last thing, top 10 tips to prepare for your mastectomy. I mean, and I read those and I thought those were applicable when I had my hysterectomy.
Yeah,
You know, that may be a little tweak here and there, but pretty much the
Sure.
same thing.
sure.
Now, I do want to read one quick clip from the book,
Absolutely.
because this is the part that spoke to me the most. It's like, okay, you have to listen to this. And she is talking about after the process, and she was like overwhelmed. She was sobbing.
What
She
page are you
said- Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on page 123.
Okay.
And she's with I believe she's with a nurse. Doesn't say, but she says, after I calmed down and wiped the messy tears from my face, she encouraged me to look at this situation differently. Her perspective was that I was proactive with regular screenings and early detection. I don't think we can say that enough.
Absolutely.
Proactive women with
Absolutely.
screenings, early detection. She reminded me that both my cancers were caught early. I avoided massive cancer scars before they developed. She believed I was ahead of the game. I liked that story better and did my best to stay positive. The mole was removed with deep cuts, and I was left with stitches and bandages. And it reminds me so much of my own story with my own cancer right here on my nose, with my own, like, yes, early detection. For some reason, I can't say that word today. Early detection. I know we're a society that really likes the all natural. And I love that holistic approach to health and wellness too. But we also need the allopathic doctors who have the tests, they have the procedures. Doesn't mean you can't combine modalities. You can,
Yeah,
it's your
absolutely.
choice, but get the testing done.
Yeah. And advocate for yourself.
And
Advocate for yourself. And actually, I just want to read a little blurb too. And it's funny because I underlined pretty much exactly what you did. But I also went a little bit further down the page, and I underlined this and starred it, and then I wrote yes and an exclamation point.
Oh, well, you should
And
read
there's-
that part then.
And there's one sentence that I also double underlined, but let me just go ahead and read this passage. It says, and again, on 123, while this surgery was a physical experience, it was equally a mental game of mind over matter. Here's the sentence that or one of the sentences that I double underlined. I realized how much I chose to create my reality.
Woo, woo, woo.
Then she goes on to say, I accepted the risk of surgery with and without knowing the dangers. Another double underline. I trusted myself and my decisions. And then she goes on to say, I achieved each milestone with resilience and determination. I was becoming the chief executive officer of my health. Advocate for yourself and trust yourself. Just like Erica said, trust yourself. Trust yourself.
CEO, baby, CEO.
CEO. Yep. Such a good book. Read this book, people. Read this book. It's so good.
Thanks, Raquel.
Thanks, Jennifer.
And to our viewers, give us a 5-star review.
Yes, please. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend.
Or you could leave us a comment and a 5-star review, or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks, everybody.